The steam whistle of the Elysian Express sounded like a tuning fork struck against Heaven's Gate, high and bright above the clamouring crowd at St. Cross Station. For 3 days, the revived 1932 luxury train would cross the breadth of England, raising money for children's hospitals. Movie idols, pop stars, and tech magnates waved from polished walnut windows, while reporters barked questions about gowns, menus, and rumoured romances. In the middle of that carousel stood Lionel Marsh, starch-white toque tilted back, polishing a ladle with unhurried patience. Lionel was no television chef. He was the last of the true railway culinarians, apprenticed as a boy on the Flying Scotsman when coal still ruled the rails. He knew every rivet of the Elysian's dinner car, an Art Deco jewel box officially listed in the historical register, and he considered it both kitchen and cathedral. If you fed people well at 85 miles an hour, they forgave the cramped tables, the smell of lubricating oil, even one another's egos. Lionel intended to serve them so well that by the final station wallets would fly open for charity like shutters before a summer breeze. Yet something already felt wrong. While provisioning that morning, he had found 2 stove jets conspicuously half unscrewed, as though fingers had probed for the proper torque and then retreated. A small matter to correct, but nothing on a museum train happened by accident. Still, the doors were about to close, and suspicion was no substitute for saffron. He buttoned his jacket, laid his concerns alongside the copper pans, and gave the departure bell a courteous nod. The first leg to Wraithmore Viaduct went smoothly. Lionel's brigade, 6 cooks strong, executed lunch: pheasant consommé, Devonshire pies, a compressed apple terrine, without so much as a fallen soufflé. Celebrities praised the fare between choreographed selfies. The pop luminary Jax Pastel asked if the consommé was vegan. Lionel forgave the question. Dahlia Vale, the screen goddess whose eyes sold perfume to half the world, requested a private word, commending the balance of mace and Madeira. Lionel, charmed, had porcelain teacups sent to her compartment. At 15:10 the train paused in the rural hamlet of Oakridge to take on water. Passengers disembarked to mingle with schoolchildren and photographers. Lionel normally remained aboard, keeping watch over his domain. Today, though, he needed fresh tarragon. The herb shipment had arrived bruised, and Oakridge's tiny market boasted a greenhouse no larger than a garden shed. He hesitated, remembered the loose stove jets, then decided no saboteur would strike under so many eyes. 5 minutes, he told his sous-chef Gwen. Watch the range and mind the flames. When he returned, the dinner car was as spotless as prayer beads. Still, the air held a faint odour, burnt varnish, quickly hidden beneath garlic and shallots. He sniffed the stove jets, tight. He scanned the Cupler vestibule, the only point where the fully loaded dining car could be detached. Its locking pin bore a smear of something dark and viscous. Lionel dabbed it with a tasting spoon. Rendered duck fat. No railway man greased machinery with duck fat. Gwen, who's been near the vestibule? She blinked at him over a crate of leeks. Porters, maybe. The security chaps did a sweep. See to it no one's around there without my eye. His voice was sterner than intended. Gwen flushed and turned toward her station. By sunset, the express climbed into moorland. Dinner was set for 1800 hours sharp. 9 courses, each paired with wines donated by a billionaire vintner riding 2 tables back. Lionel tasted, adjusted, and tasted again. He drifted through the car, verifying settings: Riedel glassware, bone-white china gilded in cobalt, silver cutlery shaped like stylized wings. Outside, he could sense the rails curving into Falstoke Gorge, where the track narrowed across an iron truss bridge 100 feet above black water. The maitre d' signalled, and a hush swept the car. Waiters glided, candles flickered, and the first course, beluga caviar on blinnies, as light as hummingbird breath, landed before the glittering guests. Lionel stayed near the galley doorway, listening to forks, gauging tempo. The Elysian purred at a steady 83 miles per hour, wheels hammering the joint bars in polite iambs. He allowed himself a rare smile. It lasted until the third course. With an ungodly screech, metal slammed metal, throwing Lionel against the oven door. Cutlery clattered like hail. Passengers cried out. The floor tilted. Steam hissed. Some unseen giant seemed to drag the train sideways. The emergency brake chain clanged overhead. Dishes flew. Wine bled across linen. Outside, sparks fanned across midnight pewter. Then the world heaved. The dinner car jerked, decelerated sharply, and wrenched to a halt. Somewhere behind, a heavier crash resounded. Wood snapping, steel grinding. The lights flickered, steadied, flickered again, and died. Silence followed. A single champagne flute rolled down the aisle until it kissed a table leg and settled. Lionel's first thought was of the gas lines. He snatched an emergency lantern, dove into the galley, and spun the master valve. He could smell propane, mercaptan sharp as slapped rubber gloves, but the shut-off held. Around him, cooks groaned, one clutching his wrist, another bleeding from the scalp where a copper pot had bashed him. He strode into the dining area. "Keep calm," he commanded, voice pitched to carry. "If you can walk, make for the vestibule at the front. Ladies remove heels, gents mind the glass." The conductor and security guards were likely stranded half a train length behind. The dinner car had separated. Lionel had served during wartime evacuations. He knew a panicked crowd boiled faster than bouillabaisse. Passengers obeyed, more shocked than injured. Dahlia Vale found him, mascara streaked yet composed. "Chef Marsh, are we safe?" "Until the gas settles, safer outside. Wrap this around your mouth." He handed her a folded napkin spritzed with mineral water. She pressed it gratefully to her face and shepherded 2 trembling socialites. When the last diner had stepped onto ballast, Lionel surveyed the wreck. Moonlight revealed the nightmare. The service car behind them lay on its side, trucks twisted, its coupler torn free. Between the dinner car's rear vestibule and the toppled carriage yawned a gap of 15 yards scattered with ballast. The rest of the train, observation lounge, sleepers, power van, had halted on the gorge bridge, invisible except for the glow of emergency lamps. Steam rose, hissing into the cold. Somewhere, a soft moan mixed with the clicking of cooling metal. Sir Roland Price, the billionaire vintner, limped from the shadows, swearing about broken bottles. No one appeared critically hurt, luck guiding disaster's hand. Still, the Elysian Express lay riven, her pride as dented as her paint. Lionel returned to the vestibule. The coupler was intact, but its locking pin lay snapped in 2. And there, caked among the fracture lines, was more duck fat, an accident no longer. Sabotage. He secured the dinner car, then conferred with Mabel Ashcroft, the conductor, who had trekked forward from the lounge. The railway's rescue locomotive would need 4 hours to arrive. Telecom cables along the gorge were down. Mabel would oversee passengers. Lionel requested one thing. "Give me the manifest of everyone who boarded at Oak Ridge, and find Duke Thacker, your head of security." "What are you about, Chef?" Mabel asked. catching whoever almost turned us into confit. She studied his lined face, nodded once, and disappeared into the night. Inside the galley, Lionel fashioned his headquarters. A chef's mind organized life into mise en place, ingredients, timings, finished plates. Sabotage demanded the same discipline. Who possessed time, motive, and knowledge? Time. The pin must have been weakened between Oak Ridge and Falstoke Gorge. The only unsupervised window was Lionel's own errand for Tarragon. In those 5 minutes, anyone with access to the dinner car could have smeared grease to conceal metal fatigue, then partially sawed or scored the pin to ensure it failed at speed. Knowledge, one had to know which pin held the stress, and when the gorge's curve would strain it. That suggested railway experience or meticulous research. Of the passengers, 2 fit: Rufus Hunt, retired locomotive engineer turned podcaster, and Andrei Novak, a stunt coordinator known for train sequences in action films. Among staff, only the security chief Duke and perhaps Gwen, who adored mechanical puzzles, qualified. Motive, money, revenge, publicity, more elusive. He questioned the cooks first. Gwen swore she had left the galley only once, to fetch ice. She had not been near the vestibule. Lionel pressed her. You studied engineering at Imperial College. Did anyone ask you about couplers? Her eyes widened. Chef, no. I never. Are you accusing me? I'm weighing all flavours, he said, and moved on. Porters had little to add. One had noticed a man in a charcoal suit lingering near the vestibule, but couldn't swear who. Passengers rattled, yielded gossip. Sir Roland claimed his insurance policy would soar. Jax Pastel live-streamed tearful updates. Dahlia Vale possessed the presence of mind to soothe a cluster of panicked donors. None offered substance. At 23:40, Duke Thacker arrived, face lantern lit. The veteran bodyguard combined rugby shoulders with an undertaker's solemnity. I heard you're playing detective, he said. You missed the opening act, Lionel replied. He showed Duke the broken pin and the duck fat. Find me the knife, or saw that did this. Not my job, chef. Your job was preventing it. Lionel locked eyes with him. Unless it was your doing. Thacker's jaw tightened. I was in the lounge car with the tech magnate all evening. Hundreds saw me. I'm not your villain. Then help me. Lionel extended the evidence bag containing the pin fragment. Please. Thacker exhaled, took the bag, and trudged off. Lionel leaned against the brass rail. The chill seeped through his whites. He closed his eyes, summoning the rhythms of the kitchen to clear his mind. Meal preparation was sequence, sabotage, mis-sequence. What had been out of order today? The tarragon, the stove jets, the odour of burnt varnish, the coupler grease, the broken pin. A trail of breadcrumbs soaked in duck fat. He inhaled sharply. Duck fat was not standard pantry stock for their menu. He had ordered goose fat for the potato galette, but the supplier had substituted duck. Only one person handled the fats. His pastry chef, Anton Belcamp, a last-minute hire recommended by the corporate sponsor. Anton had once been Lionel's protégé. They had fallen out after Anton plagiarized Lionel's menu for a Michelin audition. Lionel hadn't spoken his name in years, and Anton, because fate favoured irony, had reappeared yesterday with a humble smile. Lionel scanned the darkened galley. Flour bags, sugar bins, butter blocks, no Anton. He checked the pantry, the fridge, empty. A memory surfaced. During plating of the second course, Anton had volunteered to fetch more scallion curls from the service car. He would have crossed the vestibule. Lionel cursed himself. He snatched a flashlight, told Gwen to hold the fort, and climbed down the ballast toward the overturned carriage. The service car lay on its side like a beached whale, one end crumpled, the other partially buried in scree. He circled until he found a broken window low enough to crouch through. Glass cracked under his soles, the torch cutting cones through dust. Boxes of linen and dry goods had spilled, forming a chaotic slope. Toward the rear bulkhead, amid toppled crates, crouched a figure rifling a metal locker. "Anton," Lionel called. The figure froze, then straightened slowly. Lantern light revealed a gaunt man in flower-streaked blacks, hair disheveled. In his hand gleamed a hacksaw. "Lionel," he said, voice brittle as sugar glass. "You shouldn't be here." "I might say the same." Lionel stepped forward. "Fancy tool, not standard pastry equipment." Anton shrugged. "I needed to improvise. With the dinner car's locking pin, and earlier, the stove jets. This is your mise en place, isn't it?" Lionel's voice trembled with an emotion he rarely tasted. Betrayal. Anton's eyes flicked to the upside-down locker. Inside, wads of currency bulged like bread risen too fast. "You heard of Ocelot Insurance. They insure film shoots. A stunt gone wrong on a vintage train. £8 million if the production halts. I had an investor, well, a bruiser, who wanted proof that the pin was sabotaged. Photos of me retrieving the saw would do. So you risked 200 souls for a payout. I weakened the pin to fail gradually. I calculated the stress, the speed. No derailment beyond the coupling, just enough panic to shut everything down. But you left me too little time. I tried to delay service, fiddle with jets, anything. Then you—" He shook his head. "It's always been you in my road, chef." A distant rumble, perhaps the rescue loco beginning its crawl. Lionel raised his lantern. "Step away from the money, Anton. We walk back and face what's coming." Anton's smile was thin as Philo. "You saved them once tonight. You willing to try again?" From his pocket he produced a small device, 2 wires leading to a shiny metal cylinder. "Dry ice bomb. Kitchen chemistry at its finest. I crack the capsule. We both go." Lionel's heartbeat thudded into his ears. But fear, like bitterness, could be balanced. He lifted his hands, palms open. "Put it down. You're a cook, not a killer. Tell that to the investors." Anton's thumb toyed with the cap. Lionel glanced around. The only weapon within reach, a silver brandy warmer resting beside a box of spirits. He shifted subtly, placing it between them. "Remember the first dish you perfected?" Lionel said softly. "Soufflé Grand Marnier, 1998 Brighton. You feared it would collapse. I told you—" "Don't," Anton's voice cracked. "You pulled it from the oven and it stood. I said, control the heat and you control the rise. Same lesson now." With sudden speed, Lionel hurled the lantern at Anton's feet. The glass burst, showering sparks. Instinctively, Anton jumped back, losing grip on the bomb as he swatted embers. In that heartbeat, Lionel lunged, seized the brandy warmer, and swung. The copper sphere struck Anton's wrist. The device skittered across the tilted floor and wedged under a crate. Anton howled, clutching his arm. Lionel pinned him, using his weight and a knee learned from peeling potatoes in swaying kitchens. Anton struggled, then sagged. Footsteps clattered outside. Duke Thacker's silhouette filled the window. He and 2 guards hauled Anton out, trussing him with luggage straps. Duke nodded at Lionel. "Found your saw, eh, chef?" "And his motive," Lionel replied, indicating the cash. Dawn tinged the horizon pink when rail inspectors arrived. They confirmed that hack marks on the coupler pin matched Anton's saw. duck-fat traces extended to his station pan. The rescue locomotive eased the uninjured dinner car to the nearest siding, where medics and press awaited. Cameras flashed, headlines brewed. Lionel declined interviews. He remained in the galley, repairing what he could, realigning shelves, scrubbing wine stains, truing warped cutlery. Gwen entered, sleeve in a sling from a sprain. "They say the trip's cancelled." "It is," Lionel said quietly, "but the charity banquet is not." He gestured to the countertops now gleaming under noon sun. Through teamwork and scavenged supplies, his brigade had salvaged enough ingredients. Passengers still need to eat. Staff, rescue crews, inspectors. They're hungry too. Word spread. Tables were laid on the station platform, checkered cloths over crates, candle jars tucked against wind. Battered yet unbroken, the Elysian Express family sat shoulder to shoulder, actors beside engineers, surgeons beside porters. Lionel served a simplified menu: bowls of mussel chowder, roast lamb with garlic potatoes, treacle tart. No silver cloches, no crystal, yet the aroma of rosemary carried farther than any marketing campaign. Dahlia Vale approached while he was wiping down the last pot. "Chef Marsh," she said, "they've raised double the goal in donations. People saw how you handled the crisis. They trust us with their money and their stomachs." Lionel removed his toque, embarrassed, pleased. "Well, Miss Vale, adversity is just another heat source. Control the heat, and you control the rise." She laughed softly, offering her hand. Lionel took it, feeling the pulse of a railway heartbeat older than both of them. Somewhere beyond the yard, mechanics hammered at steel, promising the Elysian would ride again. As twilight settled, Lionel stood on the platform, eyes on the horizon where tracks met sky. Sabotage had dented metal and pride, but not purpose. Children's wards would gain new beds, research new microscopes. And on the day the repaired dinner car rolled out, Lionel would be aboard, ladle in hand, tasting, adjusting, tasting again, attentive to every rivet and every heart under his charge. For an old railway chef, there was no finer destination.